Guys, so this is going to be the first round of the first semifinals here for the PvP Live Tavern Takeover, and it's going to be Rogue versus the Hunter. And we've talked about this. Rogue very strong against this Hunter deck, and it's got to be a little bit of a frustrating situation. The mulligans here, some decisions being made. Do you want to hold on to that deadly poison? Looks like the entire Hunter hand is going to be mulliganed, and the Gadgetzan Auctioneer going to be able to pop up here. Starving Buzzard, look like that's going to be actually held on to. So definitely some thought being put into this mulligan early on.
Yeah, I think when he elects to hold on to a Buzzard here, what it says is that he's not quite sure if I'm playing Tempo or not.
Yeah.
So he wants to kind of hedge his bets one way or the other. If he ends up drawing Unleash and I'm playing a Tempo Rogue, obviously Buzzard Unleash is a huge play.
Yeah.
But he also may just want to hang on to it as sort of like a threat that he can use to actually tempo me and hope that he can develop. But I'm not quite sure why he would keep it unless he anticipated playing against a Tempo Rogue.
All right, so we're just going to flare turn one. Does draw the boar. We do see just the hero power going to come out here and attack the face. And it'll be interesting to see. He has a couple options here. He can he could do Buzzard. Okay, he's going to go with the Animal Companion, and that is quite a nice draw to be able to get that out on that turn too. And it'll be interesting to see if he's going to decide to go with the Buzzard plus the boar, or if he's going to try to hold that for Unleash. Now having maybe a bit of an idea that you're perhaps not a Tempo Rogue.
Right. I think
and double Buzzard.
I think what he definitely wants to do here is figure out a way that
Unleash.
he can...
Oh man, that is Unleash. And Deadly Shot even. He's thinking hard on that Deadly Shot. Yeah. Interesting. That's an interesting choice.
Well, the shiv gives up the fact that I'm Miracle Rogue, I think, at this point, so...
Just holding it for a Van Cleef, perhaps?
Right,
like that.
Especially given the context of his hand. He's not going to be playing anything relevant for a while.
Yeah.
So he wants to make sure that he's not going to automatically lose to something like a Gadgetzan Auctioneer, and that's going to be the main reason why he ends up taking this Deadly Shot. Or also for a huge Van Cleef if that was something that came up.
Yeah, and drawing that Hunter's Mark is going to mean, he's going to have Hunter's Mark plus a boar as another form of removal. So, two strong forms of removal, and he is going to go with that Buzzard boar now that we did talk about a little bit earlier. Get the draw. Actually, going to use both boars there for the double draw. So interesting. Does draw an Ironbeak Owl as well as the River Crocolisk. And I would have thought that maybe he would have held on to one of those boars to use in conjunction with that Hunter's Mark. Now, why do you think he decided to go about it like that?
I think the way that his hand is currently constructed. By the way, have
brutal.
To comment on how huge of a draw that Phantom
preparation Phantom Knives. That is, that is money.
Analysis later for the moment.
Ouch! That's so brutal. So brutal.
So going back, his hand is actually contextualized sort of weak at the moment. 2 Stone Tusk boars isn't something that you want in your hand versus a rogue deck. So when he plays that Buzzard and he follows up with the 2 boars, he gets the benefit of a little bit of extra damage out of it. But the bigger benefit that he's seeing is the fact that he's able to cycle through and perhaps find some cards that are a little more valuable as a match.
Interesting. Now, he is going to have to deal with this. Deadly Shot in hand, is going to be available. You have gotten some nice card draws here already off of this. And deciding whether or not to attack the face, is going to elect to do that. So 23 versus 24 HP, and does have a tracking. Just going to go with Deadly Shot. It would have been interesting to see if he held the boar there, because then you would have that extra option for the boar plus the Hunter's Mark. But it's looking like very likely just going to be a steady shot here. You obviously could drop the Croc as well. But I think he wants to hold the Croc to use in conjunction with the Starving Buzzard. I'm just guessing. That would kind of make sense to me, especially next turn he could do. Buzzard, Croc, something like that.
Right.
The Ironbeak Owl also obviously very nice pulls against that Van Cleef, perhaps coming out.
Yeah, that's
something
drop.
to really keep in mind. So here we have the turn 6. A number of options here. Would be interesting to see exactly what you're going to go for. Now, what are you thinking here? Are you thinking about Blood Mage Backstab Hero Power, something like that?
Well, a very natural play, of course, is the Blood Mage and the Backstab.
Yep.
And I considered playing the Van Cleef here, but he has drawn 2 cards, and he hasn't used a Hunter's Mark yet. So one of the things that I'm concerned with is trying to get him to use and Unleash the Hounds on these couple of minions here, and then following that up with a Van Cleef.
The Kodo is a nice draw.
Right, so he actually
Unleash
manages to peel Kodo here. Unleash is a huge draw too, though.
Yeah, with the Buzzard already. And the Kodo is a very nice draw for him there. You are going to get the card draw off that, so it looks like he's a little bit hesitant to give you the card draw, perhaps. Maybe feeling a little bit uncomfortable with that, but I feel like that's what he's going to end up defaulting to. I don't really see the better play. unless he wants to go, Buzzard Unleash and clear it that way. This is something he obviously could do, but I'm guessing that he's just going to go with the Kodo, and get that battle cry, the guaranteed battle cry, as well as pretty beefy minion out there. But Buzzard Unleash equally viable strategy here, and he's definitely considering it. Thinking hard on this turn, because this could be a game swinging turn. He really is not sure. Does he want to get that Buzzard Unleash? Because I think he's realizing at this point perhaps there's not going to be a turn where you have more than 2 minions out there. Maybe this is the most card draw he's going to get from that, but does in the end settle on that Kodo, and I think that was the kind of more standard move.
Yeah, I like going for the Kodo here because what you're going to find is if I don't develop my board past this point, he's not going to need to use Buzzard and Unleash, because that means he's just winning the game.
Yeah.
So when he uses this Kodo, he develops a 3/5, which is a fairly threatening body at this point. I don't have a lot of damage on the board, so it's hard for me to actually deal with this Kodo without using more spells.
Yeah.
And he can still follow up with the Buzzard Unleash later, again, if I end up developing my board more this turn. So I think from his perspective, it's smart to save it. The other benefit to saving it is if I do something like play a huge Van Cleef, he can use Hunter's Mark and Unleash the Hounds. And I think that's his major concern, is making sure that he doesn't waste an Unleash, so that way he can take out a Van Cleef if something ends up happening.
For sure, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's going to have multiple ways to do that. He has the Silence, he also has the Unleash with the Hunter's Mark, so he does have that removal prepared. And now, I mean, this turn, I'm guessing you're just going to Hero Power Deadly Poison and take it out that way. But there are other options here as well. I mean, you could just go for the Zerdrake, do something like that for the card draw, see what you get. But Deadly Poison, okay, that doesn't make sense. Now, okay, so you're going to elect to go for the Van Cleef. So you're basically, there. Do you think that, so you were basically just feeling like getting the extra like stats on the Van Cleef out right away was more valuable than the extra charge of the Deadly Poison?
Well, my initial thought here was that with the 2 1/1s I had on the board, it was a pretty easy play for him to use Buzzard Unleash if that was something he had. So when he elected to use the Kodo, my sort of question was whether or not he was electing to play Kodo, or whether or not he was going to choose to play a different style of minion. And so it just ends up, my range of what I thought he had ended up being really thrown off here. And long story short is I just get punished for it.
Yeah, a bit of a rough turn there for you. I mean, we talked about holding that owl for it, the Van Cleef, and he was able to get a lot of card draw there. I mean, he was able to go Buzzard, Owl, get double card draw off of the Unleash plus also that Timberwolf. So a lot of card draw coming out there. The ship on the Buzzard going to be able to take that out, and now just kind of considering your options here. You obviously can go with the deckhand trade. There's possibility of Blade Flurry to get rid of those. But there's also an option of the Zerdrake. There is a couple different ways you can go about this. Now, I mean, in your position here, are you really feeling like you need to get rid of any of this, or do you just kind of say, okay, I just need to get rid of the Timberwolf, maybe with the hero power, and just ignore the Owl since it's not really.
It's sort of like a yes and no. I do feel like I need to get rid of this, but at the same time, I have a lot of ways to get rid of it.
Yeah.
And can I get rid of it in sort of an indirect way? I don't feel threatened on my life total. I'm at 24, pretty comfortable. This Azure Drake has been stuck in my hand for a couple of turns now, so I think this is a pretty good spot to play it. And then when I draw something like this Eviscerate, you got to start counting your damage at this point. This is 17, 20. With this Azure Drake, this is potentially a ton of damage that's coming onto the board here. So I do want to deal with these, but I may be able to deal with them indirectly by sort of playing an Azure Drake, which may have taunt in his eyes. But at the same time, when I draw the Eviscerate, I may just be able to race him and try to kill him at this point.
Yeah, very good point. I mean, double kill command, though, if it goes to a race now. I mean, the Houndmaster here, could use that Houndmaster and trade out. Could obviously go the kill command route as well. Or could just do, you could even go Buzzard and start trading Beasts in, try to buff up that Buzzard. So there are some options here for him. It'll be interesting to see exactly what he's going to go for. I mean, I think there's a lot of different valid routes here. You could. I mean, I think the obvious one is probably just kill commanding the Drake and keeping your minions alive. But going Buzzard and trading, you could go for that. You could also, Houndmaster up your Owl and trade out that way. There's a lot of different ways to do this. But I mean, it's just a question of, does he want to save the kill commands to attack your face, or does he want to trade that out? I mean, I'm guessing he's going to kill command.
You have to count his damage as well here.
Oh yeah.
He's got 10.
Yeah, with the Leroy
14,
as well.
He's got 16 damage just this turn alone.
8, yeah.
Yeah, that puts me into lethal range next turn if I can't kill him.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty scary. I mean, it's like the amount of burst these classes can do.
But what he's certainly weighing here is because he pointed the kill command at my face already.
Yep.
So he's certainly thinking about trying to kill me here. What he's trying to weigh at this point is whether or not he believes I have enough damage to kill him if he doesn't kill this Azure Drake.
Yeah, I mean, double kill command plus steady shot and the damage on the board is certainly a lot. I mean, it's definitely pretty scary, and that definitely puts you on the back foot. It puts you on the defensive, forcing you to try and clear that out. And it looks like that is going to be the route he goes. So double kill command, steady shot, and then he's just going to go fully to the face. So down to 8 HP with Leroy in hand, plus 4 damage on the board, and the steady shot you have to worry about is a pretty terrifying situation. I mean, you do have a Leroy of your own in your hand. You have the Shadow Step, so potential for damage as well there, as well as you have the Eviscerate, SI Agent to combo. A fair bit of damage, but
I wonder.
It doesn't look like it's enough.
It looks like about 21 points of damage to me.
Yeah.
4 from the Azure Drake, 12 from Leroy and Shadow Step, and then 5 more from Eviscerate.
Yeah.
And then I don't have any mana to play the South Sea Deckhand because I can't make a blade this turn.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a really sweet position I've gotten myself into by choosing to not play that South Sea Deckhand last turn.
Yeah, brutal, man. And I mean, that's one of the things that you hear sometimes people talking about is just trying to fill the mana curve. It's like trying to play as much mana as possible here. So, I mean, I'm sure you're kicking yourself having seen this, but at the time, were you really thinking about it? Were you thinking about playing that South Sea Deckhand?
I remember hovering it, but with the way that this game had panned out, I certainly didn't anticipate him putting me at 8 this turn. Mm-hmm. So naturally, when he puts me at 8, I'm like, well, that's it. Like, there's no other reason for a player of this caliber to put this much damage into me unless he's going to kill me next turn. So while I certainly have counted this probably 17 times by now while playing this, it's 21 at the end of the day.
Yep.
Again, 5 from Eviscerate, 4 from Azure Drake, 12 from Leroy Shadow Step. Not playing the South Sea Deckhand really changes this dynamic of the game. Something as small as not playing a 1-mana 2/1, because would he have attacked the South Sea Deckhand instead? Would he have killed my Azure Drake? Would it have lived and then he dies on the counterattack? Like, so many things have to be considered when you get to this point. So what's going through my head is that I have to be able to just kill these 2 minions, have him not be able to kill me, and then I can kill him the next turn. And that's really it, because I counted this about 700,000 times. And the fact of the matter is that it's just 21 damage.
Is really the only play here.
Yeah,
really can't take any more damage to the face, so gonna have to go that way and gonna throw out the Eviscerate and I imagine the SI. No, we're gonna save that combo.
Yeah, so, I chose not to use the SI because we saw earlier one of his unleashes got burned by tracking it, but I'm not aware of that. So I'm actually doing this to try to play around Unleash if I have the option to. But again, of course, 8 more points of damage coming in.
Yeah,
Savjz is
your
killing
fate was
me.
sealed already.
A spot where I thought I was like surely gonna win because I had so much stuff in my hand, and because I had such a fun